The morning of the Langford wedding shimmered like a dream. White roses framed the grand hotel suite, silk ribbons curled in the soft light, and champagne glasses sparkled like tiny suns. Every corner whispered perfection, wealth, beauty, control. And yet, one detail disturbed that flawless surface: the makeup artist was late. 10 minutes, to be exact. A light knock broke the anxious chatter. The bride's assistant rushed to the door, heels clicking against marble. When it opened, the mood shifted instantly. On the threshold stood Nia Robinson, a black woman in her early 30s, with warm brown skin, calm almond eyes, and hair neatly tied back with a simple elastic band. She wore a black sweater and dark blue jeans, clean, fitted, and professional, without the flash or glitter the room was used to. In her hand, a small silver case for makeup, polished to a soft shine. Victoria Langford, the bride, turned with the poise of someone raised in luxury. She was young, beautiful, and utterly certain of her own importance, the only daughter of a family whose last name could open any door in the city. Her voice carried a practiced elegance, sharpened by impatience. "Are you sure you're from the agency?" she asked, tilting her chin slightly. "I specifically requested professional, not an assistant." Nia's expression didn't waver. "Yes, ma'am," she said evenly. "I'm the senior artist. I've been with the agency for 8 years." The silence that followed was heavy, fragile. Then one of the bridesmaids whispered just loud enough for everyone to hear, 8 years. Maybe that's why they sent her. She must be the budget option. Laughter rippled, quiet but cruel. Victoria didn't correct them. She simply turned back to the mirror, smoothing her robe, pretending she hadn't heard. Nia placed her kit on the marble table and began to unpack her tools. Brushes, sponges, palettes, each arranged with deliberate care. Her hands were steady, movements quiet, graceful. Every motion said what her voice did not: "I belong here, even if you don't believe it." Victoria watched her reflection, still skeptical. "Please," she said finally, her tone clipped, "be careful with the contouring. My face isn't a practice canvas, and don't use anything cheap." One of the bridesmaids snickered again. Another rolled her eyes. The tension in the air was sharp enough to taste. Nia didn't respond. She simply began. The brushes whispered against Victoria's skin. Light strokes, feathered edges, the gentle rhythm of mastery built through years of repetition. The room grew quiet, not from kindness, but from something else: curiosity. They watched the way she moved, deliberate, confident, utterly calm. Every motion revealed a quiet power that money couldn't buy and arrogance couldn't touch. Minutes passed. Victoria's reflection transformed, not through glitter or excess, but through balance. Warmth returned to her face, her features softened, her beauty elevated by the kind of artistry that never needed to announce itself. When Nia finally stepped back, the room fell into stillness. Victoria looked at herself, luminous, composed, breathtaking. For a heartbeat, she almost smiled, but pride is a stubborn mask. Instead, she blinked, straightened, and said coolly, "Thank you. You can go now." Nia nodded, beginning to pack her tools. Then Victoria added, almost carelessly, "Please don't touch your things too much. I'm not sure they're clean." The words struck like frost. No one laughed this time. Even the bridesmaids shifted uncomfortably, pretending to check their phones. Nia paused. She closed her case slowly, her movements as controlled as ever. Then she met Victoria's eyes in the mirror. There was no anger there, no bitterness, no wound. Only composure, strength that needed no defense. "Congratulations," she said softly. And with that, she turned and left. Her steps echoed down the marble hallway, steady and unbroken. Behind her, the laughter resumed, fragile, uneasy, trying to fill the silence she'd left behind. Victoria stood before the mirror once more, the perfect bride. And yet, something felt different. Her reflection, flawless moments ago, now seemed colder. Her beauty, once undeniable, looked strangely empty. Outside, Nia walked through the hotel lobby. The air was cool, scented faintly of vanilla from the wedding hall. She passed guests in gowns and tuxedos who didn't notice her at all. But she noticed everything: the way people looked without really seeing, the way power disguised itself as grace. At the door, she paused for a moment. A thin beam of morning sunlight spilled through the glass, brushing against her face. For the first time that day, she allowed herself a breath, deep, full, cleansing. No resentment, no anger, only stillness, because dignity isn't loud. It doesn't argue, and it doesn't seek approval, it simply is. As she stepped out into the crisp morning air, her reflection caught briefly in the glass door, calm, strong, unshaken. In that reflection, Nia Robinson didn't see a woman dismissed or insulted. She saw someone who knew her worth long before the world ever tried to measure it. And that, more than any diamond ring or designer gown, was what true beauty looked like. 5 years had passed. The world had changed in 1,000 quiet ways, new jobs, new streets, new faces, yet some things never faded. The rain, for instance, still fell the same way, steady, merciless, cleansing. On a lonely highway outside the city, headlights blurred in the downpour. Tires screeched, a horn cried out, and then, silence. When the ambulance arrived, the scene was chaos. Glass glittered across the asphalt like shattered stars. A car lay flipped on its side, smoke curling from the hood, the smell of gasoline mixed with rain. From the back of the ambulance stepped Nia Robinson, now in a crisp paramedic uniform. Her hair was shorter, her movements sharper. The softness in her eyes remained, but it was wrapped now in something stronger, the calm of a woman who had seen pain and learned how to meet it head-on. Vehicle rollover, her partner called out, voice strained through the storm. Driver unresponsive, one passenger trapped. Let's move, Nia said. Her tone was steady, practiced. No hesitation, she approached the wreckage. The driver's side was crushed beyond recognition. Inside, a man's face was pale and still, no pulse. Time had already taken him, but in the passenger seat, there was movement. A woman, her face streaked with blood and rain, clutching a torn piece of white fabric to her chest, a wedding dress. Nia leaned in carefully, cutting through the twisted metal. Mom, can you hear me? No response. The woman's head hung forward, her breathing shallow. Pulse weak, Nia called. Possible internal trauma. Her partner shouted over the rain, we're losing her. Nia's eyes hardened. Not on my shift, she said firmly. She reached into her kit. Gauze, pressure pack. Hands moved on instinct, fast, precise, unwavering. Adrenaline, she ordered. Now. The needle found its mark. Her gloved fingers pressed against the woman's neck, searching. Then, a faint rhythm, unsteady, but there. Breath steady, she muttered to herself. You stay with me. Her partner adjusted the oxygen mask. Nia spoke softly, almost like a prayer. You're safe. You're going to make it. The storm raged around them, but inside that wreck, there was a fragile kind of stillness, the quiet determination of someone refusing to lose another life. Minutes blurred together, the hiss of oxygen, the rhythmic count of compressions, the hum of medical focus. Then, a flicker. The woman gasped, shallow, startled. Her fingers twitched. She's back, Nia said under her breath. Come on, stay with me. The patient's eyelids fluttered. Confusion, pain, fear. Where am I? She whispered. Nia's voice softened behind her mask. You're safe now. I'm with the ambulance crew. We're going to the hospital. Everything's going to be all right. The woman blinked weakly, tears mixing with rain and blood. Her hands still clutched the torn fabric, that ruined piece of white lace. Nia didn't think twice about it. Accidents told stories all the time, rings on fingers, pictures in wallets, remnants of lives interrupted. She'd learned not to dwell on them. She just did her job. But something about the scene tugged faintly at her chest, a whisper she couldn't name. The scent of expensive perfume beneath the metallic tang of blood. The faint glimmer of a gold band half slid from the woman's finger. It didn't matter, not now. She focused on the numbers, the breathing, the pulse. The sirens wailed back to life as they loaded the stretcher into the ambulance. Rainwater streamed down the sides of the doors as they slammed shut. Vitals stabilizing, her partner said, relief creeping into his tone. Nia nodded, checking the monitors again. The woman's chest rose and fell, steady now. Her heartbeat, once a faint flutter, grew stronger. Nia watched her for a moment, not as a medic, but as a human being. There was a strange peace in her face, even through the bruises. Good, Nia whispered. You fought for it. Keep fighting. The ambulance sped down the highway, its red lights cutting through the rain like warning flares against the dark. Inside, Nia kept her hand near the patient's arm, monitoring, listening. She didn't see the face clearly. She didn't have to. To her, It was just another person who needed saving, and that was enough. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky, deep and distant. The kind that shakes something inside you, the kind that feels like memory. But Nia didn't notice. Her mind was quiet, her heart steady. This was her purpose, the place where all the noise of the world fell away. Her partner looked over. You ever wonder, he said softly, how many lives we cross without realizing it? Nia gave a small smile. Every day, she said. And most of the time, we never know what it means. The sirens' wails softened as they neared the city lights. The rain eased, fading into mist. Through the back window, the highway disappeared, a trail of flashing blue and red fading into darkness. As they turned toward the hospital, Nia adjusted the patient's mask one last time, her voice barely audible beneath the hum of the engine. You're safe, she said again. You made it through. And for the briefest moment, she thought she saw the woman's lips move, a silent echo of gratitude carried between breaths. Then the ambulance vanished into the fog, its lights swallowed by the night, leaving behind only the hiss of rain and the faint shimmer of a broken wedding dress on the road. Because sometimes fate doesn't shout. Sometimes it just brings two lives full circle, quietly, mercifully, without either of them knowing why. Days passed. The rain had stopped, but its echo still lingered, in the streets, in the air, in the quiet breath of the city healing itself. Inside the hospital, morning light filtered softly through the blinds. The room was still, the kind of stillness that follows survival. A woman lay in the bed, pale against the white sheets. Beside her, on the small table, rested a gold wedding ring, scratched, bent, and dulled by fire, glass, and fate. Her fingers twitched weakly, eyes fluttered open, adjusting to the light. Confusion came first, then memory, then the ache of something deeper. The door opened. A nurse stepped in, tablet in hand, her voice calm and warm. Good morning, she said softly. How are you feeling today? The woman blinked, focusing. For a moment, the face before her was just another kind nurse in blue scrubs. Then, something shifted, her breath caught. Recognition crashed over her like a wave. You, she whispered, her voice trembling. You were at my wedding. The nurse's eyes lifted. Calm, steady. Yes, she said quietly. I remember. Silence filled the room. The woman, Victoria Langford, felt the sting of tears she couldn't hold back. 5 years ago, she had laughed at this same woman, dismissed her, humiliated her. And now, this was the face she'd woken to after nearly dying. Victoria's voice broke. I was horrible to you, her eyes glistened, wide with guilt. And you still. You saved my life. Nia Robinson stood by the bed, her hand steady, her voice almost a whisper. When someone needs help, she said, they're not an enemy, just a person who's fallen. And I know how to lift people up. Victoria turned her face away, ashamed. The words were gentle, but they carried weight, the kind that lingers longer than pain. For a while, neither spoke. There was only the sound of the monitor, the slow rhythm of life continuing. Then, softly, Victoria laughed through her tears. A real laugh, fragile, but alive. I spent so much time caring about how I looked, she said, about what people thought of me. Her voice broke again, but when I saw you that day, in the rain, I realized beauty isn't in the mirror, it's in what someone does when no one's watching. Nia smiled faintly, eyes warm. Sometimes, she said, fate wipes away our makeup, just so we can see who we really are. Victoria looked at her, and for the first time in years, she didn't see class, color, or pride. She saw grace. Simple, quiet, human. She reached for Nia's hand, a fragile gesture, but full of meaning. Thank you, she whispered, not just for saving me, but for showing me what kindness looks like. Nia's smile deepened, gentle and sincere. Kindness isn't something we earn, she said softly. It's something we choose even when it's hard. Victoria nodded, tears falling freely now. The weight she'd carried for years, the guilt, the vanity, the loneliness, seemed to lift. I never said sorry, she murmured. You don't need to, Nia replied. You're here. That's enough. Silence settled again, but this time it was different. Peaceful, restful, healing. Outside the window, sunlight began to break through the clouds, thin beams of gold reaching across the sterile walls. The world, for a moment, seemed perfectly still. Nia checked the monitors, made a few notes on her tablet, and turned toward the door. As she reached for the handle, Victoria's voice stopped her. You changed how I see beauty, she said. Forever, Nia paused, glancing back, her expression soft but unreadable. Then maybe, she said quietly, this was never just about saving your life. Victoria smiled, small, tired, but real. And for the first time, her face didn't need perfection. It simply needed truth. Nia nodded once, then stepped out of the room, leaving behind a silence filled not with regret, but with grace. Victoria lay back against the pillow, the ring glinting faintly beside her. She picked it up, turning it in her fingers, watching the way the light caught its imperfections. They weren't flaws anymore, they were proof. Her reflection in the window looked different now, softer, stronger, honest. And somewhere in the hallway, a nurse walked on calm, sure, carrying the quiet dignity of a woman who had long since learned that beauty, real beauty, is never about how the world sees you. It's about how you see the world, because grace doesn't arrive in applause. It arrives in silence, in forgiveness, in the simple act of helping someone who once turned away. And as the sunlight spread through the room, warm and unfiltered, Victoria finally understood. Some people don't just touch your face. They touch your soul, and in doing so, they make it beautiful.